for his latest film, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, 73-year-old Jim Broadbent had to do a vast amount of walking. His character, the Harold of the title, undertakes the odyssey of his lifetime, walking the entire length of England, more than 600 miles from Devon to Northumberland, to visit an old friend dying of cancer. Luckily for Broadbent, he didn't have to cover quite the same distance while filming. But he certainly put in the miles. "I did walk quite a bit, but nothing like as much as the crew," he tells the Daily Express with a smile. "We all had our step counters and people said to me, 'You must be walking miles.' So he checked." After comparing his own step counter with one of the younger members of the production crew, he realized his mileage was tiny by comparison. Rather embarrassingly, the actor admits, much of the extra distance was down to errands his younger colleague had run on his own behalf. That said, he was clearly in his element. When he's not working, walking is Broadbent's exercise of choice. He loves his native Lincolnshire, especially the quite beautiful Lincolnshire wolds. As a younger man, he explored the higher ground of the Lake District and Scotland. He has been married to his wife, the painter Anastasia Lewis, since 1987. The couple split their time between London and Lincolnshire. Filming on this latest project took place in late summer and autumn last year, with actors and crew gradually advancing northeast across England, as Harold makes his slow but steady pilgrim's progress. Broadbent describes how he visited multiple towns and tracts of countryside, staying in 11 hotels in all. The most dramatic section of his pilgrimage, he says, was traipsing across the Northumberland moors, often in the driving rain. The film is based on the 2012 best-selling novel of the same name, by Rachel Joyce, who happens to be a former acting colleague of Broadbent's. It's an uplifting story of quiet heroism, self-discovery and grief. Harold, an unremarkable man who sets off on a remarkable journey, believes that by walking across England he can save his old friend Queenie from cancer. But he is pitifully ill-prepared for his journey, with little money, his only footwear a wholly inappropriate pair of leather deck shoes. As he clocks up the miles, staying in B&B accommodation during the early stages, and sleeping rough later on, he becomes increasingly disheveled, his feet blistered and bruised. Word gets out about his pilgrimage and it's not long before he gathers a troop of loyal followers, seeking comfort from their leader's dedication. It's all very reminiscent of the 1994 Tom Hanks movie, Forrest Gump, when the eponymous hero runs across America, gathering followers as he goes. The director of Harold Fry is Hetty MacDonald, whose previous work includes TV series such as Poirot, Doctor Who, Wallander, and Normal People. "I find Harold such an extraordinary hero," she says. In bravely stepping out into the unknown, he shows how it's possible, by taking a leap of faith, to heal. In advance of filming, MacDonald drove the long route of Harold's pilgrimage, from Kingsbridge, in South Devon, to Berwick-upon-Tweed, close to the border with Scotland. "It was such a formative experience, to feel the way the landscape shifts and communities change as you go north, and it helped us to understand the nature of Harold's journey," she adds. Broadbent sees the film and the journey within it as a celebration of being kind, and having faith in one another and in humanity. He adds, Harold doesn't really know why he's walking, but it becomes clear to him and to the audience as he goes. born in 1949, in a small village called Holton cum Beckering in Lincolnshire, one of the few English regions not featured in the film. Broadbent attended a Quaker school, and then the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. His parents, Roy and Doreen, were artists, keen amateur actors, and conscientious objectors during the Second World War. Early on in his career, he appeared in the 1980s Terry Gilliam films Time Bandits and Brazil, and as DCI Royce later in the sitcom Only Fools and Horses. In the latter, he was originally offered the role of Cockney market trader Del Boy before David Jason took the part. "I always say my greatest contribution to British culture is not doing Del Boy," he once joked. His breakout role was in the 1990 Mike Leigh film Life is Sweet. Following this, he appeared in movies as diverse as The Crying Game, Little Voice, Bridget Jones's Diary, Hot Fuzz, Moulin Rouge, Gangs of New York and even a couple of the Harry Potter films, cementing his status as a household name. In 2001, he won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in Iris, the biopic of Anglo-Irish author Iris Murdoch. A year later he was offered an OBE but turned it down. "Vanity. Not a good look. Didn't suit me," he says modestly when asked why, adding that he had already been awarded enough prizes. "An OBE is really for people who deserve it," he continues. "I've led a fairly selfish life. It's not for actors. Successful actors get enough to make out they're more deserving than anyone else. I think it's more suitable to people who have contributed selflessly to the community rather than those pursuing a career in the movies." But there's also a political aspect behind his refusal of the OBE. "The British Empire is nothing to be proud of, certainly not to celebrate with an Order of the British Empire," he explains, adding that, if he was offered a similar honour today, he would again refuse it. Broadbent's acting skills are surprising in their diversity. He can do character acting, he can do drama, he can do comedy, he can do tearjerkers, he can do goodies and baddies. He's even done musicals, but he is never better than when he plays the wide-eyed, bemused, slightly world-weary, mumbling English gent. "It's not always an act." Those words wouldn't be an unfair description of Broadbent as he is today, in real life. Right now, he's sitting on a sofa in a hotel in London's West End, wearing a striped shirt beneath a casual grey sports jacket and matching glasses, his eyes large, round and intense, as he explains what it's like to be a septuagenarian actor. "It's enough to be actually portraying anything at my age," he says with a chuckle. "I look at a lot of films and TV series and I think, I wouldn't mind being in this, but there's absolutely no one of my age in it. I'm in a minority for the first time ever. I've had a wonderful career, being white, middle-class male, English-speaking, it's the best place to be. But so many productions don't have anyone of old age in them. To actually be somebody of my age in the central role is making a statement in itself." As with many people of his age, his memory isn't as sharp as it used to be, which means he always takes care to learn his lines well in advance of a new film. He strongly believes, however, that films aimed at older audiences can be lucrative at the box office. "There have been several notable examples aiming for the grey pound," he says. "But that group of films is in a pocket on its own. In the mainstream, it's the middle-aged, the young, or the really young where the bulk of casting comes from. If a film is going to make money, the market will find it out. His co-star in Harold Fry, playing his wife Maureen, is another much-loved older British actor, Dame Penelope Wilton. By having two mature people in starring roles, Broadbent believes both the director and the author of the original book have important messages about growing old. As you get older, people are complex and can be proactive and more relevant and more interesting than they are often given credit for, he tells me. He isn't impressed with the way society treats its old people in general, he confides, describing the debacle over care home residents during the COVID pandemic as just appalling. He suggests they were forgotten, not borne in mind. In Britain, he points out, there's a worrying disconnect between the younger and the older generations, a phenomenon more striking within white families than in certain ethnic communities. As I understand it, Muslim and Hindu families have a lot more family, all living under the same roof. White families are more disparate. We don't think about older people. That's been the case for generations. Now that he's well into his 8th decade, with almost 100 film roles under his belt, it wouldn't be too flattering to call Broadbent a national treasure. Yet he is clearly uncomfortable with such a cliched phrase. I don't know what it is really, he says, looking bemused as ever. People smile at me in the street and I wonder, what's that about? Probably they've seen me in a film. But it doesn't affect me in any way. It doesn't change my life in any way. I'm probably a C-list national treasure, he concludes. But I'm not up there with Thor Hurd. The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry is in cinemas from April 28.